我的问题是比较是从教会的事工的角度来问，想问一下曾牧师哈，就是说职场事工现在在这个所谓的国度的里面啊，大家开始越来越看重，也像这样的牧者可以牧养这些职场上面的人士。可是从教会的角度来说，譬如说教会几十年前很少能够注意到婚姻的事工或者家庭的事工，可是现在的教会里面已经可以完全有这么一个 ministry， 是一个婚姻跟家庭的这么一个 ministry。那么职场这一块呢，始终很难成为教会里面的一个 institutional 里面的一个 part 啊。所以我不知道从您的角度，教会怎么样可以，或者是不是有机会将来可以有这样子一个职场的事工，成为一个教会内部的，而不是一个教会外部的一个 ministry。
I have learned that we must come back to basics and core values. And one of the basics is that Jesus have not told us that we are to live perfect lives in our inner world, in the family, with our spouse, with our children, in serving in the church, in working in the marketplace, and in the marketplace ministries. Because these are many demands that will pull us in many directions, and we don't have the capacity to cope. Even being a good son, a good husband, a good father itself is already a challenge. And then you add on to a career, you add on to marketplace, you add on to serving in the church. It gets confounding. What Jesus told us is follow me. Be a disciple. And so my understanding is that if we put Jesus at the center to follow him, he will guide us in our pilgrimage, in our journey that has many tracks by which we walk. He will guide us as a disciple in the home, how to be a good son, how to be a good husband, how to be a good wife or good parent, father or mother. He will guide us how to be a good worker, how to be a good boss, how to be a good colleague. He will guide us how to be a good servant, how to be a good board member if we are in the church board, how to be a good cell leader. My point is that it is not in these many arenas that we try to master. It is only in one where we try and grow in. We grow to be a disciple of Christ, following him. And then by his grace, there are 4 things I found very helpful for us to focus on. It's a redefinition of our core values and a trajectory in life. What we have described are the arenas of life: the family, the marketplace, the church, the political arena, the public square. But that's the arena. But in the pilgrimage, in the journey, it boils down to only one, and it has 4 considerations. The first is to be a disciple. The second is to make disciples. The third is to multiply disciples, and then by God's grace to mobilize disciples. Mobilize disciples means mobilize them for global missions. It's larger than the marketplace. It's larger than the family. God has a redemptive mission for the world. His purpose is to seek and save the lost. And if we lose this sense of global mission, then a lot of what we do become truncated and piecemeal. We try to be a good family person. We try to be a good marketplace person, rather than we become God's transformational agent for his redemptive mission for the world. So this global mission, while we mobilize disciples for this global mission, is a crucial thing. But to do that, we got to multiply disciples. We have to teach them to be reproductive. We have to teach them whatever you learn, you got to pass it on to others also. You got to pass it on to faithful men. So be disciple, make disciples, and multiply and mobilize disciples. Coming back to your question now, the church therefore should not focus on the arenas alone. It will be a very busy church. And then after a while, in the busyness, you have what's that called? Silo effects. Silo effects means every leader wants a voice for the resource, the limited resource of the church. I want a voice for family. I want a voice for marketplace. I want a voice for children. I want a voice for you. And there are many voices. What if, here's the what if thing. What if we redefine everything in the call of God to make disciples? to be disciples, make disciples, multiply disciples, mobilize disciples for his redemptive mission cause, then everything else comes into this core mission of the church. And then now I come to men and I say, I want to teach you men's ministry, how to be optimizing manhood so that you can be a faithful disciple of Christ. And part of this optimizing it is to engage the marketplace. We come now to have a women's ministry, and we teach women how to not just be homemakers, because a lot of the women now are in the marketplace. So we teach them how to be a woman of God, wherever arena God sends you. We have to make a radical shift, Joseph, from arena to pilgrimage.
Yeah, but have you ever seen a church who is good at doing marketplace ministry?
Thankfully, yes.
Because there's so many churches, especially in the Chinese church, they find it difficult to develop the so-called marketplace ministry within the church. Of course, they're becoming one of the arena. So how
my thinking
to break through?
Yeah, my thinking is not a marketplace ministry problem. It's a church culture problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, in order to solve that problem, Hilton, you're correct in saying we have to creatively redefine. When we have a culture, a leadership issue, when we talk about having a church, having a successful marketplace ministry, a lot of times in the Chinese church, the fundamental definition of who calls the shots, who makes the final decision, how your priorities are within the church, this silo effect of what avenues, what arenas, what kind of ministry captures the attention and the resource of the church. Because you see, to start a marketplace ministry, you need leaders. The church lacks leaders because the church have other demands, cell group, Bible teaching, evangelism, worship team, etc., etc. So in the many demands of the church, many needs of the church, leaders are hard to come by, because to start a marketplace ministry means you have to take resources and leadership to do that. And very often it's a contest of leadership and resource allocation. My suggestion is go back to where the fundamental cause is, which is, what is the essential mission of the church? What are we actually called to accomplish? And how has God called us to accomplish it? And then as a leadership, think through your processes and timeline. It's a systemic approach to for lack of a better term, architecturing the structures of the church in order to answer the needs. Because at this moment in your church, I don't know about size dynamics, I don't know about culture and leadership and a whole host of other fundamental considerations, but maybe in this stage of your church, marketplace ministry is not a top priority. Maybe because there are other fundamental needs to be taken care of first. I'm not saying marketplace ministry is not important. I'm saying maybe the leaders feel as if, wow, there are so many other needs. And then you need a leadership rehaul to think, wait a minute. Don't think in terms of needs and arenas and avenues. Think in terms of core mission. How do we fulfill it? And then have a work plan by which you say, okay, if you really want to make a disciples that will make a difference, you cannot ignore the marketplace. You cannot ignore the family. So how do we help develop disciples within the family, develop disciples within the marketplace? How can we plan, as it were, a 3-year journey, not just a program, but a discipling journey that will model and help? And so when you ask me, do we have churches that are successful in marketplace ministry? Yes, but there is a side of a problem, because there are trade-offs. You can have a church successful in marketplace ministry, but not so successful in family ministry. You can have a church successful in family ministry, not so successful in evangelism ministry. You can have a church mobilized in evangelism, but not so successful in terms of discipleship ministry. My point is that there's no perfect church. Every church has their struggle.